I am not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test, part 45, Queen Elizabeth I, part 2. That is on the pages 24 and 25 by doing medial plane training. And if you participate in this medial plane training, that is at your own risk. So we were just making a little found out. It was that there are some things really together like in a fictional story, but here it is reality. So we're having that Catherine of Aragon was the first wife of Henry VIII, and she was from Spain. And she was Catholic. We're just assuming that she was Catholic. And then King Henry VIII had another child with Anne Boleyn. Her name is then Elizabeth, so Queen Elizabeth I, which is here a picture. A portrait of Queen Elizabeth I. And then she had another child. No, not she. He had another child with Jane Seymour, and his name was Edward. Now, first Edward became king. It's not written here, but probably because he was a male. But Edward died at the age of 15, and then Mary, because Mary was firstborn from Catherine of Aragon, became queen. So, and Mary was a devout Catholic, and she persecuted, was the word? Persecuted Protestants. And she has the nickname Bloody Mary. But Mary died also pretty quickly. And now Elizabeth became queen. And Elizabeth was Protestant. Now, Elizabeth did find a way to avoid a greater war or more serious conflicts in England. She has written, everyone had to attend, so we don't know if it's through a war or through a law or something like that. Everyone had to attend local church, so she made rules what people should do, and also how would be prayed or how religious services should be held, but she found more or less a middle line between Catholicism and Protestantism. And now she became very popular because the English army defeated the Spanish Armada, and the Spanish Armada was sent out by Spain, the Catholic Spain, which we are assuming is Catholic, otherwise it wouldn't make a lot of sense in the next sentence, because Spain wanted to conquer England and to restore then Catholicism in England. So Catherine of Aragon was from Spain. She married King Henry VIII. Now they divorced, and King Henry VIII established a new church, the Church of England, which is not written here in that, but we can see it as a Protestant church. It was at least against the Pope, and it was not only Catholic, so let's take it as a Protestantism church. And they had also a new book, for example, the Book of Common Prayers. So we see it as a Protestantism church. So now, and Mary, even though Mary was born with Anne Boleyn after the divorce, so after the splitting of the Roman Catholic Church, Mary was Catholic. Mary was a child of Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn was executed. Her child was not to become queen first, but Edward then with the third wife. Now Edward was a Protestant from Jane Seymour. Edward continued the policy, and under Edward VI was become a book of prayers. So Edward, as the heir of the throne, continued Protestantism. But Mary did not. That's all written here. I'm just reading it in between. I'm just figuring it out from the lines. So, but Mary was Protestant. Mary was Catholic. Edward became like his father and probably like his mother, Jane Seymour, Protestant. But Edward died, and now the daughter of Catherine became, I said that Mary. Anne Boleyn had her daughter Elizabeth. And now Mary became queen. And Mary was Catholic. Her mother was Catholic from Spain. And after that we have Elizabeth, who was Protestant. Why Protestant? It's not written here, but we can assume some things. Her mother was executed, and she was not to be the heir, because Edward was born before her, and also Anne. Mary. Edward and Mary before her. And Anne Boleyn, so her mother, was unpopular, and she was accused of taking lovers. She was a third in the following succession for the throne, and she became Protestant. She became Catholic, and Catholic. Let's try to get it in line. So the first child, Catholic. The second child, Catholic. And the second child, Protestant. First child, Catholic. Second child, Protestant. And third child, Protestant. So just the third child was Catholic. That makes all sense. Okay, so just the first child was Catholic. The two other ones were Protestant. Just the thing is that the third child was the first monarch. That is it. So Catholic and then Protestant and Protestant. That makes all sense historically. And the only thing mixed up is the idea that the boy should be the king and not the girl. So the only thing mixed up is that first the third child, the boy Edward, became king, who was a Protestant, and then the first child, who was a Catholic, and then the second child as the third, which was, but again, a Protestant. So Elizabeth I was Protestant. She found a way between Catholicism and Protestantism, but Spain still sent out the Spanish Armada. I think they had at least some more reasons than just to restore Catholicism. Here's written to conquer England, and not just to conquer England, to restore Catholicism. I'm pretty sure that Spain had also other ambitions and other reasons. Let's go on with the first exercise. We are already half through of the time. We're breathing in and going down, and out. Again in, and out. Again in, and out. Last jump in, and out. Closing the legs. And let's do at least 2 exercises. We are bringing one leg up into a right angle with the next foot, even line hips taller than the back, and we're pressing from the top against the knee. Have a little bend in the elbow, neutral position of the spine, straight back, even line hips, and put effort into it. A little more, even lined hips, taller than the back, put effort into it. Now it's changing. The other leg up, right angle with the leg, flex foot, even lined hips, taller than the back, and we're pressing against the knee and again with the foot. Even lined hips, taller than the back, little bend in the elbow, and put effort into it. A little longer, even lined hips, taller than the back, and to the next exercise, the other leg, up, again up, and we're pressing from the inside. Right angle with the leg, flexed foot, even lined hips, tall and straight up with the back, little bend in the elbow, and put effort into it. Even lined hips, tall up the back, little bend in the elbow, a little more, a little longer, and changing. The other leg up, and again. Right angle with the leg, flexed foot, even lined hips, tall up the back. Even lined hips, tall up the back, little bend in the elbow, put effort into it, a little longer. And we're done. Okay, we have a story straight up, I guess. First child Catholic, second child Protestant, third child Protestant. The only thing to note that the third child became first king, Protestant, continuing the policy of his father, of the Church of England. Then the first child Catholic, and then the second child Protestant, Queen Elizabeth, Protestant. Well, with that, we are through the chapter Queen Elizabeth I. That's actually pretty short. We have a double as large portrait of Queen Elizabeth I, where we have a text. So this chapter seems long, but it's actually pretty short. But let's look at the sentence again. Elizabeth became one of the most popular monarchs in English history. So Queen Elizabeth I became very popular, one of the most popular monarchs in English history, and that particularly after 1588. So in 1588, there's something written about the name of the battle or something. After 1588, when the English defeated the Spanish Armada, a large fleet of ships, so the Spanish Armada that were, yes, a fleet. So that a fleet is again a term which is, anyone who understands the term Spanish Armada and a large fleet of ships doesn't need an explanation. So if I use an explanation with the same vocabulary, that is not really helpful. So that there were many ships together. I don't know how many, but I guess it were actually hundreds or something like that. So it was many. It was a very mighty bunch of vehicles of water. So many ships, warships with cannons and so on, of Spain, and they were defeated by the English in 1588. So the Spanish Armada, that's the name, Spanish Armada. I don't know what it means, but Spanish is after Spain, so it is from Spain, Spanish and Armada. There's the word armor drin, that would be a Latin weapon. I don't know what Spanish Armada means. It's the name for these great, large, very powerful and mighty fleet. And fleet is just the name for many ships. That's the proper name. So the Spanish Armada, these were many ships together. I'm missing a vocabulary to explain it. The Spanish Armada were, let's say hundreds of ships of Spain which could fight together in wars. And here they did it in 1588, but they lost against the English, and that made Queen Elizabeth I, who reigned England and commanded the English troops who were doing the battle, very popular. And with that, we're through with Queen Elizabeth I. Let's go a bit back to the 6 wives, because we just have 4 minutes. So 3 children, the first, second and third wife. First child Catholic, Mary Catholic. Bloody Mary, she prosecuted Protestants. Second child, Elizabeth, Protestant, and third child, Edward, also Protestants. The first wife was Catherine of Aragon, and the second wife was Anne Boleyn. The third wife was Jane Seymour. The fourth wife, Anne of Cleves. I don't know how it's pronounced, Cleves. Let's say Cleves. Anne of Cleves. And the fifth wife, Catherine Howard. And the sixth wife was Catherine Parr. Now, something else which might help us as another story is divorce. Did he had the two from abroad? So he divorced the one from Spain and the one from Germany. Anne of Cleves, of Germany, the fourth one, and the first one, Catherine of Aragon, and the one from Spain. So he divorced the one from abroad, and he executed Anne Boleyn, the English Anne Boleyn, and probably also English Catherine Howard, the fifth one. And survived did he not. Survived did he only Catherine Parr. She lived longer than him. She married again. She was a widow when she married him. She lived longer than he, but she married again, but she also died soon. Catherine Parr survived him. And his third wife, Jane Seymour, died shortly after the birth of Edward, who became Edward VI. Yes, let's end it here. That was Queen Elizabeth Part 2. I thank you very much. And until next time.